Fathers, I got a message for you. Many, many years ago, I read a quote that totally leveled me, and this is what it was. It was, more is caught than taught in parenting. What? More is caught than taught in parenting. Take two parents. One is constantly trying to teach his son who to be. You should do this, you should do that, you should do this. And later on, the son doesn't do any of that stuff. Why? Because the son is watching his father on what he did, because he caught his bad behavior, drinking, not exercising, lazy, not getting a second job, not starting a business, not working on himself, but he's always telling the son what to do. Second example is a father that was one of the quiet fathers. There's some fathers that don't say anything to their sons, but then the son grows up and becomes somebody. Even though nothing was said to the son, how did the son become a leader? Because the son watched dad. Dad didn't need to say anything. He caught dad doing all the right things. He caught dad praying. He caught that working hard. He caught that being respectful. He caught that opening the door. He caught that working on himself. He caught all that stuff. So dad doesn't need to say anything to say, hey, son, why don't you go do this stuff, right? More is caught than taught in parenting. This Sunday I'm at church. This pastor, I don't know who he is. I've never met him. I've never spoken to him. I want to give a shout out to his name, Ruben Ramsaron, at this church that we go to here in Fort Lauderdale. He's on stage. He gives this message. It's done. I'm outside. Mario and I see each other. I'm like, did you hear what he said? He says, did you hear what he said? I said, what was your biggest takeaway from the service? Mario's holding Gabriel. Gabriel just turned a year old. He's named after my father. And he said, did you catch the part about what he said? Your ceiling, boom. We were on the same exact. Watch what he says here. Listen to this, okay?
Is that your ceiling as a dad will one day become the very floor for your kids. Your ceiling as a dad will one day become the floor that your kids stand on. What does that mean? All of the things that you accomplish, all of the things that you become really good at, all of the things that you still struggle with will be the very foundation that your kids stand on.
Your ceiling will become their floor. Your ceiling, how much, I got to get better, I got to improve, blah, 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 blah. Work hard, you say, I got to get better as a man, as a husband, as a brother, as a son, boom, you're working on this. That's their standard now. My dad, one of the most annoying qualities of my dad. You ready for this? Oh my God. If he ever said, when I tell you ever, I mean even till today, he's 82 years old. If he ever said he was going to do something for you, he said it one time, you never had to ask him. You have no idea how annoying this is as a son, because I'm never going to meet that standard, right? But I'm striving towards it, because when he said, okay, yeah, no problem, gone. 3 weeks later, you forgot about it to follow up on it. But 3 weeks later, he says, yeah, I want to show you something in my room. This guy, I forgot about it. You still remembered? And you're like, oh my God, what a standard. What's one of the most annoying things about a good standard? That you need to rise up to that standard. What's the benefit of a low standard? Somebody that doesn't do all the right things. It's not hard to reach that standard. You reach it like, okay, I'm doing better than my dad, so I'm good. How many men you know slow down the moment they make more money than their dad? How many men you know the moment they do something better than their dad, they're like, I've made it. Standard is low, right? Our job is to raise that standard, and then they can come up there. Even for some of you, this is not even monetarily wise, right? What happens if you and I set the right standard as a father? We do our best. This doesn't mean you don't fall. This doesn't mean you don't make mistakes. This doesn't mean you walk on water. He continues in this message to also say the things that you also do wrong, you're also passing down to them. The bad habits, you smoke cigarettes, you may be passing down to them. Certain generational things that you do that's a bad habit, gambling, alcohol, you may pass down to them, right? But for the most part, if you set the standard in a way where you win, you have relationships, you have contacts, you've done good for yourself. Now that community also hold them to the standard. Sometimes that can be a bad pressure. I remember one of the kids at the church I used to go to, he was the pastor's son. Okay, and it's annoying being pastor's son, because everywhere you go, oh, you're pastor. Well, listen, your father, and you're like, oh my God, leave me the F alone. I don't want to be the pastor's son. Why? Because the standard, right? The standard. Now, some instances, if the father behind closed doors is like, you're embarrassing me. Do you realize I'm the pastor and all this other stuff? Versus more is caught than taught in parenting. I get that part as well. All I'm saying to you is when I heard this message this weekend, as a father, sometimes we put too much pressure on our kids to be great men and great women. How much of that pressure we put on us to become great fathers, great men, great husbands, great sons? How much of that do we put on ourselves? I think if we do a little bit more of number two, number one will work itself out. If we do a lot of number one, later on they're going to have resentment saying, how come you don't put pressure on yourself, Daddy? How come you don't put pressure on yourself for being a better man? Why'd you put it all on me? Why can't you go out there and be, better than you could have been with some of the stuff that you did? That's where resentment comes from. So anyways, this message of being a father and have an example of my father that set the tone like this for me to watch. And by the way, my dad was never rich. He was never a millionaire. He was never a guy that drove a nice car. He always had a car named Gian. He had a Mercedes 1979 240. whatever that 1979 Mercedes 240 is, the day the Mercedes crossed 500,000 miles, he thought he was going to die because that's the day the engine broke on the Mercedes. Took him to the hospital. The doctor's like, you're not dying. And my dad thought he was dying because he convinced himself for the longest time, the day the engine goes on this Mercedes-Benz, I'm going to go. That's my dad on how this guy was. And we're at the hospital. I'm like, Dad, you're not having a heart attack, bro. It's just a freaking engine. Your heart is fine. Your engine is doing okay. You're going to be around. He's been around 6 more years since that day. He's 82 years old today. But the idea is, I am who I am today. This guy, the whole Patrick Valuetainment PBD podcast, you're so amazing. Your kids are so lucky to have you as their father. I'm like, dude, my kids are lucky? You wish you knew how lucky I was to have the dad that I am. I'm a byproduct of that guy. I'm just a regular guy. I'm a byproduct of the right values and principles he gave to me. This much money. I would much rather take the values and principles than him passing down $50 million to me, but I caught him doing certain things that I'm like becoming a weak man. I will take the values and principles any day of the week over all the money in the world, because that's what shaped me to the man that I am today. So Gabriel, but David, my dad, we celebrated Father's Day with you this past weekend, and there's a song that I play that I listen to where Mikhail, who is the manager at Angelo, he knows this. Paul Anka, Papa, is a song I've listened to a couple thousand times. Every time I listen to that song, I think of you. You have changed my life, Pops. If you got value out of this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. If you enjoyed more videos like this on fathers, I did a video, I think, a few weeks ago called Shut Up Mom. If you've never seen this, you have to watch this. Click here to watch it. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye, bye-bye.